Good afternoon. It's Grant Cameron from the Cameron Files, and today I have a good friend, Yanick Aumond,
That's right.
from Val d'Or, Quebec. Are you still there?
I am. Yep. Yes, I am. I've been here since 2007, roughly.
Wow. Yep. So you know everything about gold mining and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got 2 college degrees in mining, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk UFOs, whatever you want to call it, intelligence behind the phenomena. That's what I sometimes call it. And we've talked a few times, and been impressed that you are an experiencer. And I always say that experiencer is basically the only thing you really need to understand what's going on here. It's the most important thing. That you can look at UFO photographs, you can look at medals and stuff, but it's not until you talk to people who are interacting with the phenomena that we have a chance to learn anything. So I appreciate your story and your sort of coming forward, because I realize you're in a small town. It wasn't easy for you to sort of step out. So maybe start from the beginning. How did you realize there was something different from you and maybe the rest of your family or your friends?
Well, I didn't really know anything really until I guess I met this British abductee that I met luckily at Walmart's in I think in 2012.
Wow.
And so I grew up having these experiences, not knowing what they were actually. I didn't really have any. The only person I shared with was my mother, and because I was brought up in a Catholic family, but we go to church every now and then. Nothing major. Yeah. Only time we went to church was when we went to visit grandma. But she was into angels and crystals and pendulums. So I guess that there was a sort of spiritual side to everything that I felt comfortable with.
Okay.
But it's not until 2012. But things started off, I guess. I started connecting the dots after when she said, are you a starseed? So at least at the age of 3, I tell my mom that there were people in my room at night.
Yeah.
And the fear of looking in the darkness, knowing that they're there, was so intense that I had to sleep with my belly tucked against the wall as hard as I could. I could go through the wall. I was so scared, and I slept like that with my, that fear up until I slept like that until the age of 11, roughly. Right. So I was fairly old. Sometimes I'd sleep in a fetal position. I couldn't look back.
Any weird experiences other than UFO stuff back then in terms of paranormal phenomena, poltergeist, that kind of stuff?
The whole supernatural poltergeist stuff started when I bought my first house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was in 2009, roughly. Okay. So it's strange. Things started off really quickly after I met my experiencer friend, which we almost got married, but that's another story. But the only I'd also wait. My mom would wake up at night when I was a kid, and I'd be in front of her bed watching her. And a MUFON researcher told me sometimes that certain abductees, when they come back, when they're children, they go and see their parents. They watch them sleep because it gives them some sort of security in a sense. So, but as soon as my brother was born, about maybe a year later, when I was 4, and I started school when I was 5, everything stopped. So I completely forgot about that. And the only, I guess, the weird thing that happened to me was while I was 11. Roughly about the same time, my fear sort of stopped. I was lying in bed, and my eyes are closed, but I realized my feet are in the air at a 45-degree angle. Oh. And as soon as I realized that, I cry out "no" really loud in my head, and I feel my feet fall back to the bed. And so I had a normal childhood. My parents are great. They sacrificed everything to give me what I had. And when so I guess the things started when I came out of the the conditioning of the schooling system. Really, as soon as I finished my second degree in mining, I moved to Quebec City, and that's when the vision started. So I was lying in bed, and I was looking at my bedroom closet, and the air in front of me started to bubble.
Yeah.
So I know you've talked about it before, the state between just before you're falling asleep.
Yeah, and going and being awake. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was totally conscious, but I was looking at the closet. The air starts to bubble, a bit like heat rising from hot pavement.
Okay.
And so that's a good analogy. But in that bubble of energy moving, what I'm seeing is my brother's head. My brother's head was tilted to the side, and his eyes were closed, and it felt like he was drowning. So my mother, I call my mom the next day, and a week later she calls up and she tells me that my brother's in the hospital with getting massive blood transfusions because I think he was taking methotrexate for his ulcerative colitis, and the pills were actually killing him. His blood platelets were severely down. He was dying, and he almost died. So I guess that was a sort of premonition of of what was to come, really. So after that, when I moved back to Rouen, where my parents were, and I moved back to Rouen, to Val d'Or, and that's when the ET stuff started. That was in 2000 and let me see. Can I share a screen? I've got a picture that I might.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see. Okay.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. If I click on share. Let me see. Do I click here? Okay. How does this work, really?
It should bring up your desktop once you're sharing. I don't see it yet.
Okay. Oh, okay. There you go. Okay.
There you
so
go.
do you see? All right. Okay.
Okay.
So this is what I was seeing, really, when I was I'm having that sort of vision of my brother drowning, really.
Yeah.
So let me see. I'm just gonna this one. So if I click on this one, so this is so this is in between 2008 2009. I was dating a girl named Veronica at the time,
okay.
and so I wake up one morning and I'm having this is during the summer, so it's totally the sun was coming in through the from outside, and I'd say this is approximately around maybe 6 a.m. So I wake up, I'm lying on my back, and I'm super calm for some reason, and I'm looking around the room, and I'm realizing there's like something floating in the air, but I had trouble really visualizing this because the only thing I could see properly were the lines, the outlines of the head. So I started concentrating on the outlines, and I was moving all around the head. Then I realized, oh my God, it looks like a face. Okay. So I started concentrating inside, of the face, because it was transparent. It was sort of like cloaked a bit.
Okay.
So then I realized that there were perfectly round eyes, and they were a lot darker than the insides of the face. So that's why I could concentrate on it. Then I realized that I thought at first there was it was smiling at me. And for years I thought that, that's weird. Why? I thought it was a ghost because I only knew about ghosts back then.
Okay.
But because there's a lot of ghost stories within my family for some reason. But in the end, knowing more about grays and mantids, I realized that the smile was probably is the bottom part of the chin, where its mouth is. So, but again, I didn't know anything about ATs back then, so I really pushed it aside as a ghost stuff. So as soon as I saw it, recognized it, I thought, oh, it's probably a ghost. So for some reason, I didn't even panic. I just cuddled my girlfriend at the time, and that's it. I fell asleep.
Yeah.
But in that same apartment that I was renting, maybe I think during that same year, really. Now this is where this gets freaky. This is how I guess I figured out that there's more to life than what we're really living right now. Is I'm sleeping on my side, and during the night there's a voice that speaks to me directly at the entrance of my right ear.
Okay.
And it was a female voice, and the female voice says, really quick, you're going to be an uncle and your parents' grandparents. So,
Can I ask you, so you're just getting the idea, or are you getting this sort of like in your voice, or is it English, French?
it was English.
Okay.
It was English, and it was just above my ear.
Okay.
So was it a spirit of sorts, or was it something else? But it wasn't telepathic.
Okay.
But it was really at the entrance of my ear.
Oh, okay.
And so it says, yeah, you're going to be an uncle, your parents, grandparents. So as soon as I hear that, of course I wake up, and I flip the the light switch on, which was directly above my of my bed. And what happens next? Okay, so I realize there's nobody in the room. I turn around, my girlfriend's still sleeping. I thought, oh, that's weird. Okay, so I wake up the next morning. I call my mom. I tell her the story, and completely forget about it. Now the thing is with my brother. Well, I don't have kids, and my brother was married quite young when he was 21.
Okay.
And so for years and years they were trying to have a child, and they never could. So in a sense, we totally thought that my parents wouldn't have any grandchildren. So.
Okay.
And like 2 months later, after The Voice, my brother calls up and he says, "Are you going to be? Well, do you feel old?" And I thought, well, do you feel old? Yeah, I was young at the time. And I thought, well, no. Why is that? And he says, well, you're going to be an uncle. And I thought, wow, that's cool. Super happy for him. So, I give my mom a buzz after that, because of course he called her first. Not before, I was the first caller, but. Then she says, "Yeah, I learned it just about it. Do you remember the voice that told you about the child coming?" And then like my jaw dropped because I totally forgot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot and said, "Oh my God." That was true. That really happened. So I was like, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
And so those two things happened in the apartment. Eventually, I broke up with Veronica and I bought myself a house. So that's when the supernatural stuff started to happen.
Oh, okay. You have any idea why that might be?
Well, maybe a bit. The first thing, this is strange. The first thing I said when I entered the house, I said, to all you spirits out there that are, benevolent, good, like even my family that passed away, if you guys want to come and visit, go ahead.
Good.
As long as you protect the house, come and visit, no problem. So let me see, I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay. So during the night, I started getting taps on my back every now and then, like maybe 1 or twice a month. And, they'd wake me up, and eventually my trash bin started to open and close at night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, standard white plastic trash bin you can buy at Canadian Tires.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was like, I bought myself like a modular home. They built it somewhere else and they put it on site.
Okay.
I thought it was maybe like something that was beneath the house, but no, that was like way just because my bedroom's right beside the living room. So I thought that was strange. So eventually I got tired of it. Like one morning I started opening every cupboard, every door. I couldn't trace the sound until I opened the plastic trash bin. And I thought, oh my God, it's the trash bin. And after that, it still continued.
Wow.
And even when I was dating my abductee friend, eventually she said, "Oh, what was that?" And I said, "Oh, never mind. It's just the trash bin."
Wow.
Yeah, that was really strange.
So yeah, joint experiences with her, or was it still separate experiences?
Let me see. Up till then, no, we've had stuff together that we did have.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but up until then, that was what was happening in the house. Sometimes I'd just before I fall asleep, I hear children like start laughing right beside my head, and then eventually my experiencer friend said, "Hey, I just saw the spirit of a young girl move in front of the bed." So that was something. But I've got rheumatoid arthritis now, and I knew like something was happening in my body. So my mom said, "Why don't you go see a medium?" And I go. So this is where I tell people that a lot of us experiencers, we tend to be moved around a lot, like pieces on a chessboard. We're supposed to meet certain individuals, and we affect other people's lives as well. So I went to this medium, and she said, "Oh, you're going to meet up with this with this girl in like 1.5 years from now, max 2 years. And she was like this. She was doing this. Either she's gonna be blonde, and her hair is gonna be this, like this. So she's gonna have short hair. And she says, when you meet her, just don't take your time. Take your time. Don't fuss, and everything's gonna be okay. So for a lot of for that time, I was single at at that time, and every time I was dating someone, or like with that they didn't have the proper hair. So it's not her. But
Yeah.
eventually, I'm like one day I had to buy something at Walmart's during the noon hour from work, so I take 15 minutes off. I go there, and oh yeah, this is after I forgot about that. And that same bedroom where the gray,
Okay.
the gray
Yeah.
happened. I heard a voice in my head say serendipity,
Oh, wow.
and I woke up. Now I did my grade school and high school in English in Val d'Or. I only attended French colleges because I didn't want to spend too much money on and come back with debt. But I heard the word serendipity, and I had no idea what that meant before. Uh, and so I had to Yahoo it, because back in the day Google didn't exist, so I had to Yahoo it. And then it told me that it's like a happy meeting with somebody, like in a weird place.
Okay.
So for a long time, I thought, well, I couldn't really connect the dots to a certain event. So
Okay.
one day I forgot. I go to Walmart's, and I see an old friend that I haven't seen in like 20 years.
Okay.
And so we talk, and he says, "Oh well, yeah, well, I'm waiting for my friend." So we start talking, and then this beautiful like blonde angel starts moving in front of us, like really slowly. I'm looking at her, and like I was like, "Oh my God, she's beautiful." And then she stops right in front of us, and I thought, "What the fuck's happening?" And says, "Well, this is my friend." And then she starts speaking to me, and then then I realized she's British, and she's like this. She has this angelic voice. It was really amazing.
Wow.
And from that day on, I really fell in love with her. And so eventually they go off, and I go back to work, and like the next day they email me, and she says like, "You're probably a star seed." And I thought, well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And she starts explaining stuff about ETs and and grays and stuff like that. And I thought, oh my God, is this like some sort of cult she's talking about? Yeah, because I knew nothing about that. And so I like she eventually goes on a trip around the world, and so while she gets Wi-Fi, she sends me stuff on ET and on ETs and stuff. So I started connecting the dots, and I thought, well, there's something to this really. And so when I met her, her hair was here, right below her shoulders, okay.
Yeah.
But when she came back from her trip, her hair was here.
Oh.
So this is why the medium couldn't figure out the length of the hair. It's because she got it cut because when she was in India, the monkeys were always jumping on her, and they roughed up her hair so much that she had to get it cut. So so 2 days after she was back, we started doing my first C5. Okay.
Okay.
And so this is northern Quebec, Canada. Nothing happens here. We're in the middle of the woods.
Yep.
And we started doing this sort of kadoshing, Stephen Greer type of stuff. And just over the town, we see this light. I thought it was a satellite at first, really low, like just above the town. And I say with my mind and my voice, I say, "Are you a light ship?" And that thing starts giving me 5 huge power-ups.
Wow.
Like it starts out really small, and it becomes like this big 5 times. And it was doing a flyby over the town, and eventually it stopped and it continued off. And I thought, oh my God, that was my first UFO. And half an hour later, we were still doing that C5. So this is summer, August 2013. And maybe around like 9:45, a whole bunch of people are outside. Kids everywhere, adults everywhere. And we were just on my front lawn. We were standing up, and eventually this really, from my point of view, it was a light ship, orange lollipop in color, a bit like a bit oval shaped, a bit more round, but oval shaped. And it was, from my point of view, it was like a really big watermelon. And but this thing was 150 feet off the ground. It did a flyby just above our heads at a diagonally, so we could really see it.
Yeah.
And that thing glided, no sound. Everyone was outside. No one saw it. And imagine this is 9:45. It's dark, and we're in August, of course, and this is like imagine a sun flying just above the power lines.
Yeah.
This thing lasted like a minute.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God! So we had 2 UFOs, one that flew up. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, my abductee friend that we were gonna get married. She's her great grandfather was his name is he was knighted from his name was Brigadier Sir Thomas Blatherwick.
Okay.
And he was best friends with Eisenhower and Patton during the war.
Oh.
So yeah, they would come to her great grandmother's house, and she'd always complain that Eisenhower would leave his gun on the table, and eventually, I think one of his cigarettes or something, he burnt the actual table that Thomas Blatherwick brought from when he was posted in Northern Africa.
Okay.
I know she was talking about Lawrence of Arabia, so I'm not sure if he actually worked with Lawrence of Arabia, but that word came up. But in Africa, they tend to Northern Africa, they'd bring on their camels, their sort of like mini table that they'd be strapped to the sides, and when they had lunch, they'd eat on that. So when he came back to the UK, he brought that over and made a table out of it, but Eisenhower actually burnt it. And so they still have that table, and so that was a funny story.
Wow.
Because she's an abductee, of course, and the entire time we were dating, my phone was tapped. Each time we'd speak together, or when she went back to the UK, or when I'd speak with another experiencer friend, these weird beeps started to happen all the time.
Who do you think that was?
I don't know. I know that she's been getting when we broke up. Before we broke up, when she had to go back to the UK. She'd call up and she'd tell me that sort of admiral emailed her from the States and wanted to speak. Didn't want to use Hotmail as a medium to speak with her, and she freaked out. There's a lot of stuff. Was
she a big time? Had recollections? What was her experience like? What was her abduction?
She remember. I won't go into a lot of stuff, but I know she remembers coming into her mom's body when as a soul. So she remembers a past life. She said that she came from the place of white, and she remembers she draw me. I made her draw everything down so you won't forget. And I know one of the funny things when she was a kid, when she was being abducted, she'd get a lot of blood in her belly, and so the thing she asked her, because she was raised by her grandparents, because like I told you, her mom dated Ozzy Osbourne, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so she was a hippie, so in a sense her parents raised her, but because of the blood and stuff, she'd ask her grandfather to button up her top part pajama and her bottom pajama together, hoping that's going to stop the grays from doing stuff to her stomach. Wow. So yeah, how kids think, it's quite amazing.
Why do you think they might be interested in her? Like, why would this admiral phone her? Was there anything spectacular? Did she have MILAB experiences or anything like that?
No, not that I recall. But she was a bit strong spiritually, I guess. Let's say she talked about love and light a lot. So when she was invited to go to the States once, and she with her friend. This was I think probably in 2012, a bit before we met. She was invited to a government agent in the States, and when she arrived there by bus, 2 men approached her, and one of them was black. They were all in suits, and the black man says, "Oh, you're the girl that speaks of love and light on the web," and blah blah blah. And she says, "Who are you guys?" And then the black man, I think, raises his fist and shows them a ring, and he says, "Do you know what this ring is?" And her friend at the time says, "Oh, that looks like a Templar ring." And guy says, yeah, the black man says, yes, this has been in my family for 500 years.
Wow.
So they start talking about others, about energy and stuff like that, and they eventually leave. So imagine that. She was being tracked from Canada to the US because she was meeting someone, and they tracked her and followed her up to the bus station.
Was she afraid of all this, or what was her reaction to having tracked her?
She was freaked out, really. But I really don't know what happened after that, but that was something.
Yeah, there must have been something that they were interested in.
Sorry?
There must have been something they were interested in. I was just wondering as you're speaking there. Because you haven't had any contacts from any high government, even Canadian officials or anything, no?
No, only the phone tapping, really.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And that went on the whole time that you were with her? I mean, that didn't, or did it was a period of time?
So, something happened also because we dated for a year, so we had a lot of weird energy happening in the house. Like we'd wake up at night and our entire body was like energized, like we drank like 20 liters of coffee. Like it was painful to stay in bed. Both of us have to get up and walk. Really, it was something was going on. Like one night so this happened in December 2013. I saw we called in the two UFOs. I went to my parents' house in the woods. I was alone. I did my own C5.
Okay.
And within an hour, I take a break. I go in the house to speak with my folks. As soon as I stepped off the patio, I get the feeling to look up, and that same orange light chip came just above the tree line over my head, really slowly. I get the feeling, go in the house, get the folks. So my mom comes out and sees the UFO. My dad takes a bit more time after that, and he says, "Oh, it's a plane." So I was pretty pissed off when he saw it, but at least he saw it because my dad had his own experience, really.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the entire family. Maybe like December 2013. He had the flu, a really bad cold. He was sleeping downstairs, and a golden orb just came in through the bedroom window.
Wow.
The basement window. It was a golden 4-inch orb, and it moved from one side of the room to the other. He tried to catch it. It either went over his hand, or through it. But it went from one side of the room to the other, and then it sped up and went through the the window again. Yeah, that was something.
Yeah.
But coming back to my ex, we'd again, this was in December 2013. It's a bit chilly in the house. It's, since it's winter, so I wake up a lot, and sometimes I have to go to the bathroom. So I've got a drawing. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see. Do you see it right now? Okay. No. Let me see. Where are you? Let me see. Did I click share?
You got it. I can see your screen.
Okay. Sorry. Let me see. You're gonna bring it down here. Okay. So this is the actual where my house was, where the UFO flew over. So you can see the power lines. How they're not really high up. They're not really tall. So that thing flew just over that.
Wow.
And this is the house, my parents' house. So you can see the tree line. So the UFO just flew over that.
Okay.
So it was really close. So if I try to find so this is it. So if I do that, okay. So like I said, I wake up at night, and so this doorway is right. My living room is right behind it.
Okay.
So there was moonlight coming in from the living room, from the windows. So there was some light in the bedroom. So I wake up at night, and I always sleep face my head pointing, and I don't like sleeping towards a person, so I always sleep in the opposite direction. So my head was facing the doorway. So I wake up at night, and I have this black hole floating in the doorway.
Oh.
And because my head was fairly close to it, that's why I saw it. My eyes opened, and it was right in front of my face. I couldn't have missed it.
Okay.
And at first, my brain registered it as a disc, it was sort of, it was matte gray and in color, but you know, it was dark. So, but then I realized, oh my God, there's no depth to it. So there's no width. So it was like a perfect a hole, really.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that my brain registered it as, oh my God, there's nothing holding it in place. And as soon as I registered that, boom, I just jumped. The light switch was just above my head. I flip it on, and it wasn't there anymore. And then my fiance wakes up and all in a jolt. What's going on? What's going on? Really panicky. And I just tell her, well, I just saw a black hole floating in my bedroom doorway.
Yeah.
And then she says, no, I haven't woken up because of that. I'm not the one that woke her up. She says a man was speaking to her in her head nonstop, EMP, EMP, EMP continuously. Electromagnetic pulse all the time.
Okay.
And she woke up in a jolt, and I thought, oh my God, something was happening. There's no coincidence. The black hole, the EMP, something was happening.
Yeah.
So it takes about half an hour before we fall back asleep, and I guess I wake up again, but I feel there's like somebody moving from the bedroom entrance right beside me. So from the black hole, something was moving besides the bed. But as soon as I see that, I black out, and I wake up and I'm facing my fiance this time.
Okay.
And I open my eyes and I was super drugged up. Really, when you go to the hospital, you get an operation and you're drugged up and you have trouble keeping your eyes open. That's what's happening to me. My eyes were drugged up. Well, my body was drugged up, but I could see the entire bedroom.
Yeah.
It was still lit up a bit. And this time I'm seeing these about 5 really tall, like 6 feet tall, football player type shadow beings moving in front of the bed and on my fiance's side.
2-dimensional or 3-dimensional?
2-dimensional.
Against the wall, right? Okay.
2-dimensional, and they were blacker than the blackness of the bedroom. Let's say,
Okay.
okay, but I could still see through them, and they had super large shoulders. So imagine a really tall mantid, big large shoulders, wearing a cape. That's how it felt for me. So they're really tall shoulders, and where the neck would come in. Well, she's the one that drew it, because I really draw awful. But where the neck would be, there wasn't any neck. It was a really big dome or helmet on the body.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I couldn't really invent that, because I've never seen that before. So
Yes.
that thing was moving about, and realizing they might be ETs. I'm through the grogginess, I'm still able to raise my hand and to say hello.
Yeah.
And as soon as I say that, I black out. Eventually I wake up, but this time I'm standing, I'm looking down at my feet, and I realize I'm bare feet, so I'm probably nude, but I'm also wearing hospital robes.
Oh.
And as soon as I realize I'm naked and wearing hospital robes, looking down, I black out again, and I wake up the next morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a bit freaky. And speaking to other experiencers, some say it's my lab, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
So that was the creepy thing that happened to me with her. What else? There's a lot of there seemed to be like some sort of the voice that told me about my granddaughter that was about to be born.
Yeah.
I always get the feeling that she was following me. I always had these sort of weird out-of-body experiences. Once I was I knew I was sleeping, but I was on the floor. I knew my body was in the bed, but I'm sleeping on the floor. And then I hear this voice in my head say, "What are you doing on the floor?" And then I'm feeling this, this love, the arms just, hugging me. And then I felt this love, and then it started to bring me back slightly into the body. And after that, poof, I started sleeping normally. But there was this time that, again, I used to get touched a lot during the night, and this happened up until, I guess, 2016, really. This is, in 2000, and it's the feeling up the touches would stop in 2016. I'm not sure it's because I was getting I had one foot in my tomb because I was about to get a heart surgery done at the end of 2016. But
And what was it? What was that from? Do you know?
for the heart surgery,
Yeah. Was there any
you know,
cause to that related?
I had a heart murmur, from I was
Okay.
born with that, so it eventually got calcified. So I had to get a heart surgery for that in Montreal. But yeah, things happened just before that too. But eventually, that female being, well, eventually one night I started getting felt up. It started from my from my feet, from my actually it was my right foot, and I felt it, somebody, like something light touching me, going up my leg, and then it came to my hip area, and as soon as it came to that, poof, vision mode started right away, and all I could see was this sort of angelic being from her navel up. She was
Okay.
wearing these really old white robes, like the type you see in ghost movies, but
Okay. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
really old, like no cleavage, just this really old white robes, and like she had beautiful blonde hair up to her shoulders. And the first thing she says is, she starts showering me with love. Now, if you ever, like, you might love somebody when you're on Earth, but this is like love radiation. It went through my body. I felt total bliss. Every cell in my body felt love coming from that being. It was amazing. I never felt that in my life. And then she says, "Do you want to come with me?" Out of the blue. And I'm not sure if she knew the hell I was going to come, be in, years after that. But that's when my RA started kicking in. But I said, like, no, I can't come with you. I'm gonna miss my mom. And as soon as I said that, she becomes like super sad, and I felt the sadness come through me. And she said, "Are you good with motors?" And I said, "Well, no, I'm not good with motors." How, what a strange question to ask. Like, are you good with motors from and what a question from an ET. That's stupid. Because I thought she was an ET at first, and I thought she was wanting me to like repair her UFO motor.
Okay.
And I said, "Well, no, I'm not good with motors." And then I felt this huge sadness come on me. It's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did something to you." And then poof, she disappears. So this is and again in August 2013, December 2013, and like less than 24 hours later. So this was during the winter, of course. So I think this might have been like close to the weekend. So I start my truck in the morning, because with a long distance starter, and truck doesn't want to start. So I said, "Oh, battery's probably dead." So I go outside, charge the battery for about a few hours, try to start it, doesn't work. Okay, so I call my dad. Dad, please help me.
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, go and tap the starter under the truck." So I put all my my snow stuff on, go under the truck, start tapping the starter, try to start the truck, doesn't start. So I'm in the truck, and I just turn it for about half an hour, and finally start to I'm able to start the truck. So I was, okay, well, it's probably the starter's dead. Okay, not the battery. So I go inside, and as soon as I go inside the house, that's when it hits me. Are you good with motors? No, she wasn't asking about her UFO motor. She was telling me, "Are you good with truck motors?" Because
Wow.
the event happened way too like close together, like less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, oh my God, that really happened. So.
So what was really wrong with the truck? When did you get it looked at?
Yeah, well, it was a starter. So
Okay.
I called in to the shop, and when I had the appointment, I was able to start it eventually again, and I brought it to the shop, and they repaired it. So it was the starter.
Okay.
So regarding that female entity, that voice, eventually when
Like angelic? Is she like angelic or?
yeah, she looked angelic. Well, yeah, was it a screen? Was it like a projection of sorts? It could have been from a gray. Because sometimes, like the first time I asked, did I have hybrid kids? I went to sleep, and the only thing I saw was whole bunch flashes of images of a face, and all I could see was the top part of the lip.
Oh.
And the only thing I saw on the top part of the lip was like a teenage mustache.
Oh yeah.
So imagine that. They didn't want me to see The eyes, they didn't want me to see the. They didn't want to. They didn't want to show me the mouth. All I saw was a teenage mustache. How weird is that?
Wow. Wow.
So, so yeah. Eventually, when I was having huge chest pains, and during the night, I had a vision, and all I saw was the face of a gray, and with her like a three-fingered hand just above my chest, and her face was super wrinkled, like a dried prune or a dried grape, really super wrinkled. And
There's a female gray, and can you sense this, or can you tell?
I felt she was female.
Okay.
I don't know how. I felt she was female, like a female energy, like your mom. And it was strange.
Okay.
I never felt that before.
Yeah.
And so yeah, was it that gray projecting herself as an angelic being? I have no idea. Okay. But eventually, okay. Oh yeah, this is the sad part. My mom met my fiance, so she spent Christmas at our house, because with the visa she's allowed like 6 months in, 6 months out.
So where did your mother live?
She just lived. My parents lived 45 minutes away from where I live. So we went to their house for Christmas, and so a few months after that, my mom catches this super virus from the hospital.
Wow.
And within 2 days, she's dead.
Wow.
Bang. 2 days. Yeah.
Wow.
And we were like totally. Oh my God, my dad was devastated. He was with her since the age of 16, so he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So by that time, she had to go back to the UK, and I write her a letter and she tries to come back into Canada to try to help me with my dad.
Okay.
And as soon as she's back, the night that she's back, during the night, she wakes me up and she says, Yanick, get me a piece of paper now. And so I run, find her a piece of paper and pen, and she starts jotting down the entire page. And she says, your mom's speaking to me, or she was speaking to her, and while she slept.
Oh wow!
And she wakes, and it was still clear in her head. So like she was writing it down. I couldn't speak to her. She just jotted everything down. And the first 3/4 of the page, she was trying to write in French, but she's British. She doesn't understand a piece of French. Yeah. But she was trying to write down how she heard it, how it sounded.
Yeah.
And when I was reading, the lines, I could definitely make out sentences. Okay.
Wow.
And when she got to the bottom part, that's when she said in the dream, "Speak to me in English. I don't understand French." So she switches to English, and what she wrote down is look in the drawer by the window. So the next morning, I show the notes to the page to my dad, and we start going around the house. And we finally find in the TV drawer, let's say that where the TV's on, the drawer by the window, by the patio window, was my mom's dream diary.
Wow.
And the second to last entrance was an actual premonition, because my grandmother came into her dream and spoke to her, and that dream was actually a premonition telling her, but that she didn't know at the time, that she was going to get operated on in the chest area.
Yeah.
But that everything was going to be okay. Wow. That's what she. Yeah. But yeah, it was actually a premonition of her death without knowing. And let me see. I did. If I share this again.
Yeah.
Let me see, Microsoft PowerPoint. So this this is what of course this is Olivia Newton-John. Yeah. But this is what the angelic figure looked like a lot.
Blonde?
The blonde, yeah.
And wearing like a robe, a white robe.
Yeah, the white robe, but she wasn't showing skin here, but this, she looked a lot like it. So let me see. Okay, so this is the. If I click on here, come on, it's a bit slow. Okay, whoop. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So this is again a scan from my mom's diary in French. So it says Août 2013, so that's August 2013. Yeah. That's when she had the premonition.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and she passed away in April 2014.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
so this is what I did a quick translation.
Yeah.
But this she she talks about my grandmother and other souls coming into her dream, and some of the spirits want to talk with her, and eventually my grandma says, no, well, I know, so your readers, your watchers could, those watching could, read it out. But yeah, eventually, yeah, this was actually telling her that something was going to happen to her. But in the end, she says, but what did you mean by getting operated on the chest area? And my grandmother replies in an invasive way, no, it's nothing serious.
Wow.
And my mom writes, how should I take this? This worries me a little. And then she dies in 2014.
Wow.
So yeah, well, that's okay. That's another one. Let me see if I stop sharing. So yeah, so imagine that people can communicate with you if you're receptive enough, and the dead can talk with you.
Yeah.
Another strange story with when my ex, her fiance, passed away. She was married before we were together.
Okay.
He took his life because he had cancer, but eventually he hanged himself.
Okay.
And when she was over there, she told me a story that while she was speaking on the phone with another UK, I think she was an experiencer. At least they were friends. Eventually, there's the telephone started to do that sound,
Yeah. Yeah.
and on that while they were talking, a young girl sort of connects on the phone line, a child there, and the child says, "Connection established."
Wow.
And after that, there's a man that starts speaking on the line, and that man was her dead husband.
Wow.
She starts freaking out. She says, "I can't take this. I can't take this." She hangs up the line. Eventually, she's in the she does a trip to the U.S. and she was with a guy that was working for a cell phone company, and the guy had a dead cell phone on the back seat, and eventually the phone started to do the same sound.
Oh, yeah.
So like we thought, oh my God, is he trying to communicate again? So a lot of people, a lot of the dead can use technology to communicate with us.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Matt Moniz, he was one of the abductees with Audrey Hewins.
Okay.
When she was on, because Audrey and Debbie were taken up, and they met this other human on board, and that was Matt Moniz. So he's a friend of mine. And when I shared this story with him, he told me a story that when his mom passed away, okay, she had a nickname for him called Mac.
Yeah.
And this was eventually he was on his deck with a whole bunch of other friends, and his phone starts ringing. He looks at the phone, and the number, like he wasn't he didn't wasn't like a normal telephone number. So he puts it on speakerphone, and he hears his mom's, who passed away, says, "I'm okay, Mac."
Wow.
So
Wow.
imagine that. So yeah, after that, yeah, it was a bit hard, with my dad. I had to take care of my dad. Eventually, Sarah had to go back to the UK, and I didn't lose my job. The company I was working for went broke, and eventually I had to sell my house because I couldn't find a proper paying job to pay for the house. So I moved in with my dad. Maybe 6 months after that, my fiance, well, she writes me, she sends me an email, and she breaks up. So
Wow.
I was totally devastated.
No kidding.
And for like an entire month, I was waiting for her to write back, and she didn't. And one night, and well, she didn't have to. Like she broke up. So one night, I was crying as hell. I was super depressed, like suicidal. And my dad was out. I was alone. I was taking care of my dad's puppy, and I cried out to the universe, like, why did you send me this? Was it just to like wake me up? Like we were supposed to get married. We were supposed to, like, you guys even told me with a medium, and all this serendipity stuff. Like, why? So I
Yeah.
sent her an email, and this is freaky. Let me see. I'm going to share it again. So if I can just find it. Okay, right here. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I'll talk about this the C file later.
Go
So
to full screen. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Good.
I'll put it full screen. Let me see. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So you look at the time. Okay, I sent this. The number one. This is the first email I sent. Thanks for the great year. You were with me. Best time of my life. We've emailed each other so often when she was traveling. Great
Yeah.
memories. Okay, so I sent that at 6:38 my Eastern time. I was super depressive, crying out to the universe. Then an hour later, so this is UK time, so this is like past midnight.
Yeah.
And she writes back, "Oh Yanick, I was just awoken by a voice saying, 'Wake up now.' So I pray you are okay. There's nothing I can do about immigration, because I lost my job. So don't be angry with me. I hope you're okay." So I write back, "I'm okay. I called out to the universe and they woke you up." So I'm really laying my heart out now.
Wow.
You guys. So she writes back, "Well, it was a female and non-human. So I'm going to get a cup of tea as it's alarmed me." I said, it said send protection now. So that's what I'm doing. So I write back, "Well, I've been using pendulums and calling to the beings of light. Guess they're still around. Thanks for the protection." So,
Wow.
so I think that was the female, again, entity that was, that's watching over me, that woke her up so we could sort of patch things up a bit, because, after a month, there was no reason why she'd email me. And then she emails me an hour later after after sending that email.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. I was glad as hell. I thought, oh my God, somebody's watching over me. So
Yeah.
guardian angels, they exist. So when I tell people, you want to pray, something's going on, pray. Somebody's listening. That's the main proof, really. You can't have better proof than that.
Yeah.
And how much time do we still have, Grant?
Let's do another 10 minutes.
Okay. So I'll just do a quick one. That's happened. Like I told you at the conference 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I've been single for the last 3 years, and trying to heal my body and stuff. So I wasn't really looking to meet anyone, but the universe puts you into positions to meet, and everything's connected. So thanks to an experiencer, I added to, a girl that on my Facebook, and eventually that girl, that I befriended, she was friends with the daughter of the head of MUFON Canada. So
Okay.
they were friends. My friend here, let me see. I think I have one here. So she makes these. Look at that.
Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
Look at that. Okay. So I really loved them, and I thought, oh my God. So I added her on my Facebook, and we've been sort of friends ever since.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, I told her, oh, I'm going to the the ACE conference in Toronto.
Okay.
So I think last year I head down, and I see that figurine. This is the one I actually bought. It says, I know that person who creates them.
Yeah.
And so because of that, she told her friend that I've got the same energy as her, and since that time she started email me, messaging me a lot on Facebook. So eventually, I said, oh, let's go on a date. So I traveled 4 hours away, and to the the Mont-Tremblant area of Quebec.
Yeah.
And so I took a hotel, and the hotel is just a few kilometers away from where she lives.
Yeah.
And so this is freaky. It's like a weird abduction that happened. So this happened during the night. I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping on my stomach. My eyes are closed. I can't move, but I'm conscious of what's happening around me. I start feeling hands pushing on each side of my belly, on my stomach,
Okay.
and they're pushing me from one side of the bed to the other, and I'm floating above the bed. And I thought, oh my God, I'm being abducted, and I can feel it just moving like that. It's really weird.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, so I start sending out love to these to whoever's pushing me, and I was expecting a telepathic message, but instead I'm getting these really high-pitched shrill sounds, shrieking sounds, like from an animal. Like, what? I thought, all right, now that's weird. And so I send out love again, and twice I get this high-pitched shrill sound. So I realize I'm probably on the other side of the bed, in the space between the bed and the wall, and then I'm being pushed forward through the wall. So there's probably a portal in front of me. And as soon as I start going through the wall, poof, I get the feeling I'm moving upwards really quick. And I black out. So as soon as I wake up the next morning, I write, like I put a message on Facebook, and I think I said, I think I just had a weird pseudo abduction, but I don't talk about the shrill sounds. A few hours later, my friend Annabelle, which I started dating after that, she writes, "Hey Yanick, you wouldn't believe what happened last night. I felt like somebody putting two pillows on each side of my body, and giving me a huge hug. Like really, it felt, it was hurting me. And I said in my head, please stop hurting me. You're hugging me too strong." And then she says, as soon as she said that, she started hearing a high, shrill sound, like a shrieking sound.
Wow.
And she wrote that. As soon as she wrote that, my jaw dropped. I said, "Oh my God," because I told nothing about my event. That I had the high pitched shrill sounds. I said, "Oh my God, something actually happened between both of us," because I went there to meet her, and we were meeting just in a few hours. So yeah, something happened. I have no idea what, but yeah, no, she's also an experiencer.
Wow.
So yeah, she has a lot of gray stuff happening, manted stuff, and she has like a bucket load of images that she's finishing her bachelor's degree in arts, so
Okay.
she knows how to draw. So she draws everything that she sees in her visions and her dreams, and she has way too much stuff for a normal human. So yeah, something went on. I just don't know what. It's just that I sort of had confirmation with the with the sounds. I was really glad that I did, because I didn't have too much stuff happen to me after the heart operation. I did hear my dad's voice speak to me while I was sleeping. He said my name, and I totally freaked out. That woke me up. I never dreamed about my dad.
Yeah.
But I was on high alert the next morning, and eventually, because he was out hunting, and his girlfriend calls up, and she says, your dad's in the woods and he's lost. I knew something was wrong, so I knew roughly where he was. So I took my truck and I started driving really, really fast, because he was about an hour and a half, 2 hours away.
Yeah.
When I get there, I realized that what the voice was telling me is my dad had an arrow that fell to the in the grass and the moss, because he saw a moose, and when he was looking for the arrow went right through his calf.
Oh wow.
And he was pissing blood a lot, and he was able to find his way back to the camp where he was.
Yeah.
But the voice was telling me, watch out. Like his voice was telling me Yanick, so I knew that something was going to happen.
Wow.
Because of my past experiences. So as soon as he said that, I drove as hell. So when I got there, he was able to remove his boot, bandage his leg, and his girlfriend doesn't drive fast enough. I was pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
The flashers were on, and like no cop, I'm getting to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so we got there in time, and they were able to work on his leg, and everything's okay. So
Wow.
yeah, people we're being watched. They're all the time. So speak to the universe, and if you're sensitive enough, I don't know why these things happen to me. A medium told my mom that one of her sons had his doors open. So I don't know. Is it to the spirit realm? I don't know. Oh yeah, and there's just before finishing, one reason why I might be having these experiences is my grandmother's bloodline.
Okay.
So there's nothing in the military, and we haven't. I'm in Canada. There's no military stuff here really. But growing up, my grandmother said that her surname's Aylwin, and she always thought that it was. She said it was a special family in Ireland. But thanks to my fiance, I find out that the Aylwins were actually nobles in the UK, in Devon, and the manor, they had a manor, and it's still up.
Wow.
But the thing is that the surname Aylwin is it branched out from a super old surname, which means elf wine. It's that surname's older than the Anglo-Saxon, older than the Old English.
Okay.
And translated, that word actually means elf friend, magic friend.
Okay. Wow.
And when I was watching a a movie on the Anunnakis. The word elf, A-E-L-F, actually, in Anglo-Saxon, it means shining being. So friends of shining beings, you know, it's like an ancient alien type of thing.
Wow.
Like, why would they name like a surname with that? It's really weird.
Interesting.
So that, sorry?
Yeah, no, interesting. Last question. We're gonna do the radio show. I'll set that up. Can you talk just for a couple minutes about your association with Free and your work in translating their material into French? People might not know.
Yeah, I did in the early days when Ray Hernandez was asking for help to start with Free. I said, well, I'm French Canadian. I could always help with the French part of the survey. So I'm the one that translated the first survey. Then I started a team, and my team eventually translated the other surveys in French.
Okay.
And we were able to get Ray on board a radio show in Europe, and we were trying to connect with also a lot of people like in the media in Quebec, but we never got feedback. And eventually the team had to break up. I started working, and it was way too much trouble. You know, it's a lot of work, really. Yeah. So yeah, and you know, and the fact that a lot of people in the media, they never wrote back. We decided, we had to break it up. So that was that's my involvement with Free in the beginning.
And how many French? Do you know how many French people responded to the survey?
No, because no, I don't know. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. No.
Interesting. Are you in contact with Chris in France?
Nope. No.
Yeah, well, I'll put you in contact with her. She's she may be something and be able to help you. She's doing some translations, and she's wants to promote the thing in France.
Okay.
You're doing your promotion in Quebec. I'll set you up with her, and yeah, I think we'll have some interesting conversations with her.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay,
so we'll leave it at that, and I will after we cut off, I will set up the interview on my radio show, and you can maybe detail some of the stuff that maybe you haven't talked about today or that you want to emphasize. Does that sound good?
All right. Sounds good.